What's up, my good people? Good evening, good day, good afternoon, whenever you're going to be tuning in. Listen, do me a favor. Tell me where you're watching from, what time. Are you coming from the ATL where I am? Are you coming from the NC? Like Ms. Parson, we just want to know where you're tuning in from and do something else. Share. Because tonight we're talking to singles and we're letting them know they can have something new. But just like in a word, we want to know if you want it. Do you want it? Do you want to do something new? And we're going to just ask you a few questions to get your mind rolling as I actually speak to Miss Parson. Because she's doing some phenomenal things. If you hadn't checked her out, go ahead and check her out because, business person 2 years in a row. She'll give you all the accolades. She'll give you all of that. But thank you for tuning in. So glad you're here. Go ahead and share. Go ahead and give us some hearts. Drop the comments. We'll be talking to you. All right. So with that being said, what's going on, Miss Trudi? Can I call you Miss Trudi?
Whatever, girl. Whatever. Just call me Trudi. Whatever.
Excellent. Okay, so Trudi, we are so thankful that you came tonight because looking through the things that you have accomplished, I wanted to make sure as people are thinking about doing something new for themselves, they can maybe pull from some of what you're going to be inspired, right? So I'm going to let you introduce yourself and don't be shy or modest. Tell us all the things, and then we'll get into some questions for tonight so others can go ahead and be their best selves.
You know what, Sharonda? I'm going to give you all the things, right? I'm going to give you the proper introduction and all the things.
Okay.
But I first want to thank you for allowing me to be part of this amazing platform. And I am going to give you all the things in the spiel. But I was most excited about hanging out with you tonight because I'm able to be more laid back, right? Yeah. And it's not such a... not that you're not organized and structured, but it doesn't have to be more of what I'm used to having to do. And it can be it's a more open environment, and I can really get down to the real with y'all. Okay. So I'm going to give you the spiel, and then we can really get laid back and we can keep it real, and we can really have the conversations that people don't have. And I am. So let's get to that, and then we can get to that.
Okay.
So I am Trudi Parson, the business launch coach extraordinaire. I am the founder and CEO of Fortify, the business launch firm. We are a comprehensive business launching firm, which simply means that we offer everything that the business owner should and could be using, all under one umbrella. We offer business coaching, business tax preparation and planning, alternative business funding with 72 underwriters under our wing when the banks say no. One of our underwriters should be able to tell you yes. We have master classes and master courses. I'm an empowerment speaker, both internationally and nationally. And we have master classes, master courses, one-on-one coaching and group coaching. And we can offer all of that in-house because we own those businesses independently as well. The oldest business being the tax preparation and planning at 25 years old. The youngest business is the coaching business at 3 years old. Again, we own all those businesses independently, so we can offer all of that in-house. It makes it real convenient for our business owners to not have to go anywhere else for the things that they need. So that is that. I am have been voted by peers and people who have used my services and people who have just been observing too, as the business person of the year in Greensboro through Alignable as the business person of the year for 2 years in a row, which is a true honor, right? So it's not just by an organization that's never experienced you, but it's by people who has observed you or used your services, have actually cast those votes for you. So that's a true honor. I've been asked, how do I measure my success? And I measure my success by the success of those I've served. And so that's been a true honor. So that's that. So that's that.
Yay. Well, that's amazing. It's so amazing. Did y'all hear all that? Did y'all hear everything that you need? So for those of you who have been sitting on getting your business started or, trying to upgrade your business operations, she got it. the taxes, getting you coached. She got the courses. She literally what you need is right over here. And that's why I'm excited to be able to share this moment because I know some people don't do things because they feel like they don't know or they don't have the resources or they feel like they couldn't do it alone. And what you're saying is that you won't have to have 7 different places right here. This is what we do. Okay, so that excuse is off the table now. Okay, you have now you have now been given what you need. If you've been praying for it, these are not coincidental. I really, really do think about who I bring on here because we know you cannot, should not leave this earth without doing all God's called you to do. That's why people exist instead of live. And we're here about life and love and doing something new. So, with that being said, what was your inspiration? What was your inspiration for starting the tax business and your independent coaching business and all of this?
But years ago, whenever my daughter she was just a couple years old, I was actually at that time slinging hides of leather across the table, cutting leather for furniture.
Oh,
Right. I
wow.
know it's hard to believe, y'all, but I was using a blade and I was cutting leather by patterns
Wow.
for a furniture company.
Mm-hmm.
And she needed to go to the doctor. And they told me, well, if you get another point,
Uh-huh.
right, if you get another point, you're not gonna have a job. So then I had to choose between my daughter's health, taking her to the doctor, and whether or not I was
Ooh.
going to still have a job.
Right. Woo.
For me, it's a
No
no-brainer.
question.
I was like, oh, okay then.
Right. 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 Right.
So, it
Right.
just kind of came down to those types of things, making a
Mm-hmm.
decision. And I knew in that moment, working for somebody else was not going to be my thing. That was
Right.
not going to be the end of the thing for me. I was going to
Right.
have to always make a decision where I could choose me. But I didn't
Yes.
go right into full-time entrepreneurship even then. But I knew
Okay.
then I was
Mm-hmm.
going to have to move into that direction.
Right.
And
Right.
my mother started the tax business, and I just worked alongside her while I worked on other jobs. And
Okay.
then I went back to school.
Mm.
And whenever we lost her in 2011, I took on the tax business
Okay.
full time then.
Mm-hmm.
With, I didn't intend on taking it on full time
Right.
on my own, but I did.
Right.
And I'm glad I kept it going. But at that time, I had events business that is
Right.
now almost 18 years old.
Wow.
So I was doing that alongside some other things. I was
Mm-hmm.
teaching by that time. I was teaching in a college by the time I moved to Gifford County,
Okay.
and I had gotten involved in the travel industry. It
Mm-hmm.
became residual income. It retired me from the collegiate classroom.
Nice.
And so then during COVID, my existing clients, they needed a way to pivot.
Yeah.
What I realized is I had already been coaching people all along, and I just had not been monetizing. And what I didn't realize is that you really need to, God had already he always asks us, what have I already given you? What
Yes.
have I always, we always find ourselves backed up in a corner and we
Yeah.
feel like we're stuck. The enemy will make you feel like you're stuck and there's no other way to go.
Yes.
But we really just need to pivot. And
Yeah.
oftentimes you need no other way to go.
Mm.
That's what you need. You
Right.
need to be stuck in that position to know that you've always had another way.
Mm.
Right? That there's
Yes.
always been a way in the wilderness made for you.
Right. Right. Right.
You
Right.
always need a place called stuck to find that there's always been a way made.
That's so
And
good.
so that's what God shows you in those times and in those places is a way to pivot. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what a lot of my existing clients was experiencing during COVID. And
Mm-hmm.
so then I started talking to them and I was like, I'm coaching these people, but I'm not monetizing. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
where the coaching component came and was birthed out during that time. And there
Mm-hmm.
was no time for marketing, no time for advertising, no time for branding, any
Right.
of that. It was just full speed ahead, right? So now I'm in
Okay.
this coaching business, full speed ahead, and it's full blown. And
Wow.
then when things slowed down a little bit, then I was able to start branding it and start marketing and start advertising and doing all these things. And it's just been really amazing since then, really amazing. Just an amazing work since then. And so I'm a kingdom principle based coach,
Mhm.
which simply means that I use the word of God to coach my clients. It's
Nice.
very spirit led, and it's the foundation is the
Yeah.
word of God, and it doesn't fail.
Right.
And what He guides me to give them, it doesn't fail. And
Yes.
so I never question whether or not they're going to be successful because I know where it comes
Mhm.
from, and it has been
Mm.
amazing,
Mhm.
amazing for those that He's allowed me to serve.
This
So
is
yeah,
awesome. This is awesome. If you didn't know, this is literally my first time having a conversation with Miss Trudi Parson. And I am like, I'm over here taking my own notes. So if you don't have your notepad out and your pen, do that. I mean, she has like given us a chunk right here. She said that they gave her a choice in her job, whether she's going to be able to take care of her daughter or have a job. I mean, has anybody ever been stuck between, that rock and that hard place?
Mhm.
And you already knew, like she said, I knew right then. It wasn't a question. And you have to jeopardize, sacrifice either your freedom, what you feel like supposed to be going on just so that you can pay the bills. Well, I want to challenge you then. You're probably possibly not where you need to be. There's something else that God has for you to do. This is not everybody quit your jobs today. She said even she took a process. Okay.
Yeah.
This is, let's challenge ourselves. If we want something new, unfortunately and fortunately, we have to do something new. All right. And there's something else that stuck out to me that you said was like, God has already given us something. That place called stuck helps us to recognize that. And sometimes we feel like it's a punishment when it's actually a blessing in disguise. So if you feel stuck today, y'all better have your notes out. All right. So I'm just saying, I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, you know what? There was a time too, Sharonda, that we were doing everything we knew to do, but
Hmm.
when it's outside of purpose, it doesn't matter what you're doing
Ooh,
because
that's
it's still
deep.
not enough. When you're
Oh my
outside of
God.
purpose, it doesn't matter what you're doing because it will never be enough.
Mm,
Because
mm,
God doesn't
mm.
have to bless what's outside of His will and outside of His purpose. He's not obligated to it.
Not.
And so my husband was working as much as he could. I was
Mm-hmm.
working as much as I could. I
Mm-hmm.
was teaching. He was working. We got evicted. We were living in a hotel, and our daughter was in the swimming pool. We didn't know how we were going to pay the bill
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the week at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know how we were going to pay that bill. We had gotten evicted, and there was a little girl in the pool with this was really a pivotal moment for us. And there was I think our daughter might have been, she might have been 8 or 9, I can't really
Right.
remember, maybe around 8 or 9.
Okay.
And there was a little girl in the pool with her.
Mm-hmm.
And the little girl asked her, well, where do you live? Because most of the time in the hotel people are just kind of
Yes.
transitioning through town.
Yes.
And our daughter had to tell her she didn't know.
Ooh. Woo.
That was
Woo.
pivotal for
Yes,
us.
yes,
Because
yes,
I
yes.
said, never again will she have to tell people she doesn't know where she lives.
Mm, 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 mm. Yes, 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 and yes.
And because then I made a decision and I didn't know
Mhm.
all the things then, right? So I'm still
Right,
learning because we
right,
were from a small town and our parents
yeah,
knew what they knew and
right,
they taught us what they knew. But
right.
then you have to build upon that. Then you
Yes,
take what they had to give you and then
right.
you build upon that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we've done over the years.
Right.
And what I have discovered is whenever you build the gate, you get to
Mm.
control what comes in and what goes out. And so
Yes,
then I had to start building my own gates.
yes,
And
yes,
and
yes.
now I decide what comes in and what goes
Mm,
out.
mm, mm.
And with that comes a certain level of power, and with power comes influence.
Yes, yes,
But
yes.
those are things that we didn't know. Those are
Right,
things that our parents didn't know to even give us
right.
to teach us how to build gates, right?
Ooh, right,
Sometimes we
right.
build walls to protect
Mhm.
ourselves. But the thing about walls is that
Yes.
it keeps the good things out too.
It sure does. Oh, oh, listen.
Right? So you start
Ooh.
to learn other things. You build upon what's given to you, and you grow from the things that are
Mhm.
given to
Yes.
you. And
Yes.
and those moments, those hard times and those moments lead you
Mhm.
into God's will and God's purpose.
Right.
And so from that, we were able to grow forward. And for
Right.
us, eventually, it took us uprooting and changing the entire town and city we lived in,
Mm.
changing from the ministry we were in, changing her from the entire school system because she
Mm.
was academically gifted, but it wasn't enough.
Mm. Mm.
It took us totally shifting, and sometimes people are afraid to move
Yes.
from the old into the new
Yes.
to get what God has for them. But you have to be willing. You
You
have to be
do.
willing to do that,
Yes.
right? You have to
Yes.
be willing to move from your father's house, away
Mm-hmm.
from your kin, away
Mm-hmm.
from the familiar things.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham, you have to be willing to get up and move
That's
without knowing
right.
what you're moving into. Because
Yes.
sometimes God knows we'll self-sabotage. So he wasn't willing to tell Abraham what's coming next, what the next step looks like.
Mm.
He told him, as you go, I will show you.
Yes.
As you go, I will show you.
That's so good. That is so good.
Because we self-sabotage. That's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
When we know the next thing, we think that we can control. We have to know everything. We have to
Mm-hmm.
know what the new thing looks like. And this, well, you knew what the last thing looked like. How'd that work out?
Right. Right.
It
Oh
didn't.
my
So let me,
goodness.
as you go,
Yes.
I'll show you. But first, show me that you're willing to go.
Yes.
Show me
Yes.
that you'll take a step, and I'll show you the next step.
That's right. That's
But you
right.
got to be willing to take a step first.
You got to be willing. Man, I definitely have so many questions for you on that, but I
Yeah.
must pause because when you said, sometimes we weren't taught how to build gates, but we might have built walls.
Yeah.
When we're thinking about in life and in love, that is such a natural go-to.
Mhm.
It's such a natural go-to. I'm gonna stay on this job and I'm gonna wall myself up from the possibility of actual wealth because it is what I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
You know, my last relationships did not work out. So I'm just not going to trust anybody and not love anymore, right? That's a wall. But you said walls keep good things out too. Gates actually give boundaries on what should be in, but it gives that flow. And I couldn't pass that because I know there's somebody, all the things that you're saying, I can just hear people saying, okay, Lord, I hear you. Like you're answering, you're giving those confirmations.
Yeah.
Like, should I move? Should I stay where I am around the people I know, doing the things that I know? Or is this the year for me to move? The series is called something new on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm going to say, take the hint. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness. Okay. So I'm thankful. Listen, if you have been praying on those things, should I move? Is this my year to do something new? Is this my year to get to a new school, new house, new community? If I need to learn the gates versus walls, it is. It is.
Yeah. And you know what? You can move without changing locations too.
Yes, ma'am.
God can teach you how to move without changing locations.
I love it. Speak to that.
And that, and the thing about that is, the rest of those verses, it talks about taking familiar things with you. And what you have to do is you have to make a decision. What Abraham had to do was he had to make a decision about taking familiar things. But the hardest decision in those scriptures is that he had made a promise to his brother to take care of his nephew Lot. But then God told him to not take familiar with him.
Right,
so then he had to make a decision as to whose command what to honor. Are you going to honor what God now tells you to do? Or are you going to honor a promise you made back then to somebody else? What are you going to honor? Are you going to honor a new command from God? Or are you going to honor an old promise you made to somebody or something else? And you have to make a decision. But there's something about a familiar thing that will always hinder a new flow from God. And what he did was took a familiar thing called Lot. See, there's the thing about Lot. Lot no matter what you give Lot, it will never be enough. You can give Lot everything in your pocket, it still wants the pocket.
Right.
Lot with him. And they went on and on and on. And finally they butted heads because there were so many blessings they could never agree.
Right.
And then they had to split.
Yeah.
And he told Lot, you choose the
Yeah.
part that you want. Lot chose the best part of the land, which ended up facing Sodom and Gomorrah. We know how that ended.
Right.
But it did cost Abraham part of the blessing
Yeah.
because he
Mhm.
chose familiar, to take familiar.
Ooh. Ooh, Lord have mercy.
So it will cost you, but
Yeah.
God will still uphold his promise. Because when
Sure
he
will.
finally did separate from the familiar, God said,
Mhm.
look, northward, southward, eastward, westward.
Mhm.
Everywhere you set your eyes, I'm going to give it to you. And what
Yes.
I don't give to you, I will give to your kids.
Yes.
So
Yes.
God will still honor what he said, but
Yes.
it will cost you to take familiar
Yes.
with you into
Yes.
what's new.
Ooh, yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
there is always a decision to be made
Mhm.
between old promises and covenants that you've made. Oh,
Mhm.
I'll never love like that again.
Right.
I'll
Right.
never leave myself open to new relationships again because this happened.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'll never submit to a man again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll never do blah, blah, blah again. But
Right.
God is calling you to new love,
Yes.
to
Yes.
new life, to
Yes.
new places and new covenants in Him, with a
Mhm.
new mate. But
Yes.
you've made old covenants.
Mm, 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 mm.
So,
Yes.
what decision will you make? Will you
Right.
make a decision to take familiar covenants to new places, or are you
Mm,
going to
mm.
take new commands?
Yes. Yes. To that new
You have
place.
to make a decision.
We do. We do. We do. We are here talking with Trudi Parson, and well, I told y'all she was going to tell you about all the things. Listen, we already deep in talking about her inspiration and actually how it's afforded her to prosper where she is and all the amazing things she's already done with so much more to come. We're getting our inspiration so that we can go ahead and do what we need to do. Specifically, I'm talking to singles because I serve those initially and specifically as women. But what I realize is that some of the things women deal with, men deal with too. Insecurities across the board, hurt, heartbreak across the board, not sure, needing assurance, affirmations. Those things are across the board. So when you're hearing do something new, accept new love, it doesn't matter your gender. Normally, we're talking to somebody that's feel like they failed. Something's went wrong. Um, your hope has been deferred or gone away. But there is something new. And I want you to perceive that. And so we're here talking to Trudi Parson about it. Woo! Great stuff. Thank you so much. We're definitely not done, y'all. We got way more to talk about. Going from making sure her daughter always knows where she lives, making sure she knows exactly what she needs to do to move. She has showed us how she pivoted in her career. When you pivoted, though, were there challenges? Like, were there challenges in any part of your career and any of the businesses that you uphold?
Absolutely, because like I just faced a challenge or closed out a challenge this week.
Oh, wow.
Because what I tell you, with every level of success that you guys see on social media for anybody, there is a level of hell on the backside of that they also deal with that you don't see.
Right.
That they are on their face in prayer,
Yeah.
and that God supports and carries them through. There are people who will intentionally reach out to you for fake support, that God sends and plants to target you intentionally to harm you.
Right. Ooh, yeah.
And those are things that we deal with in business.
Yeah.
And that's why it's
Ooh.
important to keep, to be lawyered up, and what I've learned,
Mm-hmm.
right, most recently,
Mm-hmm.
is that that you stay on the wall and you don't come down for low level activity, and that
Right.
there are attorneys to handle low level activity,
Yes.
and because it's an easy distraction,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that you be mindful to identify what those things are.
Yes.
And even in my coaching, I tell people to read um, Genesis, the 12th chapter,
Okay.
and Genesis, the 13th chapter, to read
Mm-hmm.
those chapters
Okay.
totally, because it talks about transitioning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, from one place to another. It talks about Abraham being told to move
Okay.
and to leave some things behind. and then
Mhm.
to read the entire book of Nehemiah, because it tells you about when you're building anything for
Yeah.
God, the distractions and the accusations that will come and how you should deal with those things.
Yes.
And
Yes.
those are the very things that I faced. And at every level of escalation
Mhm.
and elevation, you will face those types of things. And those books and chapters
Mhm.
will come in handy
Yes, it
anytime you're
will.
building in business, relationships, love, whatever.
Yes.
That those readings will come in handy,
Yes.
because you'll always have Tobias and um, all of those people that will just come to do those things. And you
Yeah.
should, if you're not prepared to face those types of things during growth, you're not prepared for success, because you're going to
Mm.
face it, and it's just part of it, and there's no way around it. But also, what I do know is that God doesn't always eliminate those people. Sometimes
Yeah.
he will just properly position them, because you do need people at the table, right?
Yes.
To
Yes.
observe your
Yep.
success too. and
Mhm.
and sometimes that is their punishment, is to have to watch you
That's
succeed.
right. That's right.
And so but in the heat of it, sometimes it is frustrating,
Yeah.
uh, because of who it is, and sometimes it's family and friends, or people that you have done well by. But
That's right.
that is just part of it.
It
That's
is.
part of the success. And if you are in if part of your business is you having to be a public person, it can
Mhm.
become difficult.
Yes. 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 What I'm taking from that, and what I hope we're out here taking, is that sometimes you see the glitz and the glam of
Mhm.
success, you see the prosperity or the influence, but um, not the toil, the work. Like in Nehemiah, they had people with weapons on guard as they were building. Sometimes they had to build with one hand and had a weapon in another. I love the chapter of Nehemiah, even when it relates to relationships, because even before he starts, he goes to the king. He asks, may we build? Are you going to give us favor? All this. So he went with confidence. So what I'm hearing is pray for success and know that God's favor is with you, because sometimes one hand's going to have a weapon and
Mhm.
sometimes it's going to have that tool. Either way, you got to be ready for both.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. That's real. That's super real. So we have Genesis 12 through 13 and Nehemiah to read. This is how we overcome challenges, especially if you're trying to build in life and our love. Appreciate that. So
Yeah.
we're going to get into a little bit of talking more specifically to singles about like dating, and if they desire something new, what kind of advice can you give us? Because I saw the beautiful picture of you and your husband playing pool. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. So give us a little bit of your advice. They desire something new, hasn't worked for them in the past. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I love that you mentioned. I know you were talking specifically about women earlier, but then you did mention a little bit about men. And when
Mm-hmm.
I thought about men earlier, I thought about the roles that were understood years ago.
Mm-hmm.
How it was understood, the roles that men played and women played in
Right.
marriage years
Yeah.
ago,
Yes.
right? Like
Yes.
now we don't understand those roles to be that now, but
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
60, 70 years ago,
Yes.
they understood that men made the money, they worked, brought the money
Mm-hmm.
home, women cooked and they cleaned, and the roles, gender roles were this, and it
Yeah.
was this, and it was
Yes.
understood, right?
Yes.
What made
Yes.
a man was that he worked and brought the money home.
Right.
And what made a woman was that she kept the house and she
Yeah.
cooked and she cleaned and she raised the
Yes.
children. And
Right.
so the gender roles were understood. This is what made a man a man. This is what
Yes.
made a woman, right?
Yes.
Whether we
Yes.
agree now or whatever.
Right.
But then World War II came, and then the women left home because they had to go in the factories to help make the bullets. And then the men came back home, and the women weren't home anymore doing that.
Right.
And they were,
Right.
so then the men came back home and to an empty house, and they
Yeah.
came back home, and the women had their jobs.
Yeah.
And now men are wondering, so now what's making me a man?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So now as the years go by, so now I don't have to provide the house, but this is what was making me a man, right?
Right.
So now I don't have to bring the money home. but this
Mm-hmm.
is what part of what was making me a man. So
Yeah.
now what's making me a man or what's making me a woman? So the gender roles now are not determined by those things.
Mm-mm.
And so now in relationships, you have a lot of things where people are trying to determine what's making me valuable in this relationship.
Yes.
And sometimes people don't consider those components
Right. Right. Right.
because now everybody in the relationship can do all of those same things.
Right. Right.
Like,
True.
not only can she bring home the bacon, she owns the pig. Right?
Right.
You
Right.
know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So now she doesn't necessarily even need me. I wonder if she even wants me.
Woo. Mm, mm, mm.
So when we think about men in that way, and when we think about what the world does to men
Mm-hmm.
before they even come home.
Ooh, Lord. Right.
So we have to think about all those components now that they didn't have all those years ago. So you
Right.
didn't hear about divorces all those years ago because it was plain as to what was what, and there was no point in divorce. We just make this work, or this is what this is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they weren't divorcing because this is
Right.
I need you
Yep.
because you working, you bringing the money home, and I
Right.
need you because you raising these kids.
Right.
So I respect what you do, you
Yeah.
respect what I do.
Right.
But now
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody coming in with kids. I don't need you for kids because you already got kids. So
Yeah.
let me see. You already got a job. You already paying all of it. You already had a house when I met you. So I don't even, you understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
now you have these variables
Yes.
that
Yes.
you're dealing with
Yes.
in dating and trying to figure out the value that people have in relationships.
Yes. Absolutely.
So it comes down more as to, and you hear people say it to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need you. You're an option. I don't have to have you. You're
Ooh.
just an option.
Yowzers. Whew. So what do we do? So what do we do?
And when you think about relationships, and nobody has this conversation before people get married, right? It's a lot of things that even in our marriage that we found out that nobody talked to us about. And
Right.
probably because they didn't even know.
Right. Right.
There's things that need to be talked about before you even get married, but a lot of the things that need to be talked about needs to be a conversation you have with yourself.
Oh, come on. That's right.
So it's about singleness, being okay with singleness,
Yes. Yes.
because there needs to be a certain level of singleness even within your marriage,
Yes. 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 Yes.
so that you're not codependent on your
Mhm.
spouse.
Yes. 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 So
Because that's the whole thing.
it's a
You know,
whole
you hear people say that's my better half. Well, if you go into a marriage and you're half a person, you're half a person. But what if you wake up one day and you feel like half a person?
thing. Mhm.
So then you got half a person and half a person.
Right.
How
Right.
does that work? It does
Right.
not.
It doesn't.
It needs to be two whole people. And a
Right.
lot of times what happens in marriages is you got two half people who
Yes.
never know who they are as individual single people
Yes.
coming together trying to
Mhm.
become one,
Yes.
and they are not even whole people.
That's right. That's right. That's
That's
right.
a problem.
Super duper.
And then they think at the altar they become one.
Whew.
It says becoming one, shall become one. That's a
Mhm.
process in itself.
Mm. Right.
Because if you're a saved person, then you're becoming you. So then you have
Yeah.
become one with Christ, and now you
Yeah.
becoming now you and Christ becoming one with another person. That's a whole lot of becoming
It is. Yes. It's so.
for a half a person.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So my advice for a single person is to make sure that you have perfected being single.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that you have perfected being single in such a way that whenever new wine comes,
Yes.
that
Yes.
your wineskin is not old.
That's right. That's right. That's
Because the
right.
Bible says that when you pour new wine into an old wineskin,
Yes.
you will burst the wineskin and
Yes.
waste the new wine.
It's so true.
And if you have not taken the time
Mm-hmm.
to perfect your singleness
Mm-hmm.
and really, really discover who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and even better, discover who you're not,
Yes. Yes. And yes.
and be okay with who you're not. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yes.
It's okay if you are not who you have deceived yourself to be,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
who other people have deceived you to be.
Right.
Because you know
Right.
why a lot of people become depressed? It's because they have, for an extensive amount of time, become who other people have wanted them to be.
Mm, mm, mm. Speak on it.
And then they have discovered it's a burden to continue to be that.
It sure is. Yes.
So in
Yes.
your singleness,
Mm-hmm.
discover who you're not,
Yes.
discover who you're meant to be,
Yes.
and be that, and be okay being that
Yes. Yes.
alone.
Yes. I love it. I love it. I mm, 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 mm. The verse I always reference is, the second commandment: love others as you love yourself. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for a long time, a lot of people overlook the "as you love yourself" because we're focusing on loving others, and love lets people know that we're Christians. So it's huge. It's
Mm-hmm.
huge. But we will be fragmented if we didn't love ourselves, because that's how we're supposed to love others, right?
Yeah.
And so when I hear you say perfect your singleness, I'm hearing you say make sure your singleness is wholeness and not fragments
Yeah.
of yourself. There's a song by Let Us See, these are the pieces of me, but what I pray is that all those pieces actually fit into a whole picture, because God formed and fashioned us that way. That's why it's so important to know your purpose. And you said it. Know why you're here. Do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, you're fragmented. You're not even single because you're not
Mm-hmm.
whole. You're in
Right.
pieces. And so singleness can be looked at in a bad way depending on your perspective, because there's a societal pressure to be
Mm-hmm.
married, and there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. There's beautiful benefits that come with being married, so I'm cool with that. But what I hear you saying, and what I totally agree with and tell everybody in our cohorts, is that if you don't know you, how do you expect somebody else to? And then get upset if they
Mm-hmm.
don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not whole, meaning you're not completely single, you are fragmented, and expect them to take a piece of their wholeness and put inside you. Somebody's still broken, and we
Mm-hmm.
don't want anything missing, anything lacking. We don't want anything broken. So I appreciate that piece of advice. Let's go out here, y'all, and make sure that we're whole.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a beautiful thing to know that I don't want to use the cliche that I can do better by myself, but that you can do good all by yourself until
Mm-hmm.
it is alignment to someone else. You said something like this: the wine will spill out. Whew,
Yeah.
I
And it will be wasted.
it would
So
be
it will be wasted.
whew.
And
So
and the wineskin will burst, which will means that you're going to cause harm to yourself.
yes, and or someone else. Either
And you
way,
and the reason the wineskin will burst is because that means you don't have the capacity for the new thing that
yes,
God wants to pour in you and
yes,
give to you,
yes.
because you don't have the capacity for it,
That's right. That's
which
right.
means you have not grown enough to hold it.
Yes. Ooh, this is huge. This is huge.
And so so what happens is that you either look for a relationship or get into a relationship where they, instead of outside people not in a relationship or outside people defining who you are, then you get in a relationship and allow or expect those people to define who you are. And then you discover who you really are. And then you're disappointed by those people who you allowed and expected to define who you are.
Right.
Then you discover who you are. And then you're like, wait a minute, now I know who I am.
Right.
Why are you telling me that's who I am? But you went for years
Right.
leaning on who they said you were.
Right.
And now all of a sudden you're not okay with that.
Right.
But
right.
that was your crutch for years.
Yes.
And now here you are going towards a divorce.
Yep.
But what God says is, in the Bible it talks about, and I jotted that down. Let's see, in Matthew at 19, it talks about, should a man divorce his wife for any reason? And then Jesus' response to that was, it's kind of like a weird response when you look at it right after what he said, because it takes him back to in the beginning, God created man and woman, and it was like, that's a response to what he says about divorce. But what he says that God created man and woman in the beginning, and he's talking about singleness. He's talking about how he created man and woman and who he created in the very beginning. And that the issue is not the divorce, the issue is the people in the marriage. Singleness. Singleness is the foundation of everything, because he created singleness before he created marriage. And so the foundation and the core of it is singleness. And so he's not responding directly to the issue of divorce, because that's not the issue. The issue is that whenever you're in singleness, what you're seeking should be the people that he created in the beginning. So the man in the beginning was walking in purpose, doing what God called him to do. But sometimes we're seeking passion. We're seeking who's hot. We're seeking who's this and who's that. But we need to be seeking the type of people God created in the beginning. So the issue ain't the people in that verse 3. The fact is that in the beginning, those aren't the type of people you're seeking. And that's why you have this over here in the 3. In the divorce.
Exactly.
And Jesus responded according to in the beginning, the singleness, the people. That's the model. And that's why you're dealing with the divorce issue. He addressed what's important, which is the foundation of singleness. The individuals.
I love it. In the beginning. I must pause and let you know that's exactly why I think that after everything that God allowed me to go through, that I put myself in, or however it worked, that God allows this to be a part of my ministry, my call, my business, because I want your beginnings, seriously, to be way more strong in the foundation. And I remember seeing your post about foundation, but way stronger in the foundation, so that you don't have to build in the middle, if that makes any sense. If we get the foundation right, even if there's a crack in the wall, there's a way that you can repair it. But if that foundation breaks, the whole house is going to break down. And when you keep saying in the beginning, this is what it's all about. That's literally why dreams, divine dating exists, even against my desire for it to exist. I didn't want to do it, Lord. But I do realize that, like you said, there are people who weren't taught some things, weren't shown or exposed. I want to be there to help you get exposed to this. That's why I bring wonderful people like Trudi and Chris and Tay, and the ones that are going to join us for the rest of the month, because let's do it right. Let's literally have the capacity for something that we've been praying about. This is no joke that new love exists. If he did it before, he can do it again. Come on, Ty Tribbett in the room, right? But there is work to do. God does have some promises that come with conditions, and everything isn't just going to drop from the sky. He has given us this ability to be able to have faith and have the works to go along with that faith, to do what we do, even as it relates to our heart. So let's do the thing right from the beginning.
Yeah.
From the
Yeah.
beginning.
It's so important for people to date according to where they're going, not according to where they are.
Ooh.
It's so that it's like it's
Ooh.
imperative, and it's so important because um well, for especially for females, because men are about 3 years behind us, right? Not
Okay.
trying to insult, but like biologically it's been proven.
Yeah.
Okay, men, so don't come for
Right.
me, okay? Because I'll pull records, okay? So
Right.
but it's really important because if you don't and you're growing and they fail
Mhm.
to grow with you,
Mm. Mm.
there are natural issues that come with that.
Yeah. That are natural. Mm.
So you need to date according to where you're going, not
Yes.
according to where you are. And
Love
that's impossible to do if you don't know what your life's purpose is.
that's right.
So, what am I saying? Should you be dating if you don't know what your life's purpose is? Absolutely not.
I don't believe so.
Because individually, you have a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
but your marriage will also have a purpose. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people don't understand that either.
Right. Right. Right.
You have a purpose as a single person, as an individual person.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get married, okay, so God doesn't agree that the two of you should be married just because you like and love each other.
Right.
He agrees that you should be married because the two of you have a purpose in the earth that
Mm-hmm.
he wants you to execute
Right.
together.
Right. 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 That's right.
There's a lot of married people who do not know what their married purpose is and
Mm.
is not executing their purpose as a married couple.
Right. Right. Woo! That's a whole nother ministry right there.
It is.
It really is.
For my husband and I, we pour into married couples. Like we have married couple get togethers and things like that.
Nice. Nice.
That is the purpose for our marriage.
That's so good.
That's why God brought us together.
Yeah.
Not because we loved each other, not
Yeah.
because he thought I was hot, he did, but not
Yeah.
because I thought he was hot, I did. Not,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
all the things.
All the things.
But not because of all the things.
Right.
But we discovered along the way, and we were not saved when we got married, so we just went through a
Okay.
lot of stuff because
Yeah.
that's what sinners do. We go through hell because we create hell and because of all the things. And
Uh-huh.
thank God that he saved our souls along the way. Right.
Amazing. Praise God.
So, but we did discover our life's purpose, and it helps our marriage to walk in it.
Yes.
But a
Yeah.
lot of married couples don't even realize that their marriage has a purpose.
Yeah.
And when you discover that and walk in that, it will help to strengthen your marriage too.
Yes. Yes. Oh, this is huge. This is huge. So, okay, two things. This is for singles. But if you happen to be a married person and you just heard that, that is a gold nugget to go ahead and put in your pocket, pat it a little bit, make sure it's still there because that's huge. Know your married purpose together. And singles, listen, that's what we're looking forward to. We have to know our personal purpose. She asked the question, should you date if you don't know your personal purpose? And we always start out. You know how most people are like, what do you want? What do you want? So we want to know that. You have to know, cast the vision, write it, make it plain. However, I also ask them, what do you have to offer? Like, we don't want to come into this thing as takers only. Who are you? What are you giving? What are you expecting to actually provide? And then you also couple that with what it is that you want. It becomes a fuller picture. Because if I'm like a morning person, and and I'm not, but if I was a morning person and all I did everything in the morning and I kept choosing people who wanted me to hang out at night all the time, though I could love you, there's going to be some friction. I'm going to want to be asleep while you're up and energetic, and I'm going to want you to be up when you're groggy. Now, that's not like one of those deal breaker things. I'm trying to make a point. You have to know yourself. Stop choosing night people if you're a morning person. If you know, and it goes way deeper. If you love family and they don't, if you like to take care of your money and they like to spend, these things all can be worked out. But this is data you have to collect. But how would you collect it if you didn't know yourself?
Yeah, but Sharonda, you know what? Some of those things, though,
Mm-hmm.
you have to identify which things God wants you to hold on to and
Mm-hmm.
which things God wants you to change about you. Because
Good.
everything about you is not meant for you to keep.
True.
One of the things about marriage is it can become a great sharpening tool.
Mm,
And
yeah.
there are some things about you God does not intend to stay the same about
Yes.
you for whatever reason.
Yes.
Like some
True.
things, like if you are not a morning person, but
Uh-huh.
God intends for you to start meeting with Him early in the morning,
Yes.
He'll
Yes.
want that to change about you, and He'll
Yes.
make the person
Yes.
that
Yes.
He is creating for you to be
Yes.
a very early morning person.
Yes. That's real. That's real. That's real.
God knows how to get out of you what He wants out of you.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So you have to determine what parts of you God wants to change
Yes.
and what
Yes.
parts of you He'll will allow to stay the same.
Yes.
And it's usually the parts that you want to hang on to that He's gonna say, nah, you're
Yes.
not gonna get to keep that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if I know it's not making me productive or, like you said, giving me the opportunity to actually prioritize
Mm-hmm.
God first, those things, I mean, we can automatic put that down. So once again, that's you still knowing yourself.
Yeah.
Um, like I have to do these things now. It's nothing that I desire to do.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I rise early, which I have to do that, would I prefer not to? Mhm. So that but if you're out there listening, rising early in the morning is not you. Your character goes beyond that. Your character
Yeah.
is something like are you kind? How do you treat people? You know what I'm saying? Do you have integrity? These are the big things, right?
Yeah.
It's just more. Make sure you know yourself, and then when the Lord is calling you higher, she is absolutely right. It's nothing like another person to help you see yourself
Mm-hmm.
because all by yourself, you're amazing, right? We're
Yes.
all perfect by ourselves. We
Yes.
can have green spinach all in our teeth and
Yes.
toilet paper hanging from our shoes, but by ourselves, until somebody calls it out, they're like, oh, right? So anyway, yeah, it's true. It's true. So
Mhm.
know yourself so that you know when God's calling you higher and change the things, and don't be upset when there's some sandpaper that's making you smoother, right?
Yeah.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. I have enjoyed being on here with you, and I'm glad I can provide a laid back environment because what I want is I want you to, and people tell me all the time, it's like I'm talking to my girlfriend, my home girl on the phone because this is about relationships. We're going to relate. I do hope you picked up some business tips, everybody. Okay. You got to hit her up, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. If your new thing is business, don't sit on it because there's somebody praying about what your idea is. And if you don't move, God's going to allow somebody else to do it. Y'all know it's like, I had that idea. Dang. Don't let that happen. Right. And for me, I want to model how to relate. You got to be authentic. You have to be real. You have to be yourself at all times. Please don't put on airs for anybody. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you do, you got to keep those airs up. And like she said earlier, that is a heavy burden.
Mm-hmm.
So, with all of that being said, what are some projects that you're working on or you want to share with the people out there?
Well, upcoming events for me is Vegas next weekend. I'm speaking
Woo!
in Vegas at the Flamingo Hotel.
Mm,
Um, I have a breakout room there on next Thursday, and then on the main stage next Saturday. So I'm
nice.
excited about that. It'll be my first time in Vegas, so
Oh,
it's a great first time.
yeah,
So I'm
something
excited.
new. Woo!
Yeah, yeah. So I'm excited about that. And then June the 8th at the International Civil Rights Museum here in Greensboro, I'll be speaking there. And
Okay.
then just some upcoming master classes, master courses under my
Okay.
own brand.
Hmm.
And that information can just be found on my website. And
Okay.
of course, coaching programs, group
Mm-hmm.
coaching, individual coaching, whatever you need. And my information is in the comments there, or you can
Okay.
just find the information on trudiparson.com.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And Kevin Green said, "Hey, little sis."
Yes, so let me see if I can
So
see.
yeah, so he is. I'm gonna go ahead and
Oh, I see. Okay.
yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure this one. Copy.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, so she says, "Hey, Kevin Green." That's funny. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna put that back out here so hopefully everybody can see that on hmm. Okay, cool. It's on my Dreams Global page right now, and I'll make sure that it's copied to my personal page. So it'll be on her page, my page, and the Dreams Global business page. I am so excited that you all have joined. If you're catching a replay, just put hashtag replay. Once again, let us know where you're watching from so that we can show love to your city or state or country. Hey, people, she's international. We've done some things with people over in Africa. I've recently had some people reach out from Canada. So, hey, let's go. Right? So, I'm excited about that because love has no boundaries. God is love, and we can always talk about Him no matter where we are. My something new for you all is we have courses and we have a coaching program, and it's been off the ground, but God has put on my heart, and it's coming from y'all tugging on me. We're going to do an online matchmaking program starting in May. Okay, what does that look like? It looks like those who have, finished through the courses, you're knowing more about you. You're sure you're going after your purpose and you're not sitting on it. And now you're ready for a God type of love, a divine love, but you feel like you just be way more successful if somebody could coach you through it, hold your hand a little bit, you maybe share a little bit of their faith and their strategies. Well, I'm your girl, and so we're going to have a webinar on that on Friday the 28th at 7. So just go to the link that I'm going to also put out in the comments. Sign up. It's a free webinar. You'll get all your questions answered. What does it look like? How long? What's your guarantees? You got a man for me right now. You got a woman. All of those things will be answered. I want to make sure you grab your something new because it's the time. It just is time. Plus, you're tired of the old anyway. I already know it. I already know it. So anyway, all right. So something new. We had that webinar, and if you had any final words for us, Miss Trudi, what would they be?
Yes, I do, and it just come from what you just said.
Okay.
God said that He's doing something new. He's already started it. Do you perceive it? Do
Ooh,
you perceive it? Which
right.
means He's already done it, but do
Mm,
you perceive it?
right.
Whether or not you perceive it, whether or not you receive it, is based on whether or not you even perceive it.
Yes.
And He said that
Yes.
He's made a way in the wilderness,
Mm,
right? So,
mm.
which means that it happens in
Ooh,
places that you don't even expect it. And
yes.
sometimes we look for the new thing in
Mm-hmm.
old places. But He said He has done the new thing in places that you don't expect it.
Yes. Yes.
Rivers in the desert.
Mm.
That you don't expect to see
Mm.
rivers in
You
deserts.
don't.
You
You
don't
don't.
expect to see ways in wilderness.
You don't.
But He said that's where the new things are. And He
Yes.
said that sometimes you keep finding old things because you keep looking in old places.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
never going to find the new things that God does in the
Mm-hmm.
old places.
Right.
You're only going to find them in unexpected places.
Yes.
So if some of you are thinking about what she's talking about hosting,
Yes.
as oh, this is unfamiliar, I don't know about this
Yeah.
is an unfamiliar place for me,
Right.
maybe that's where the new thing is going to be found. And if
Just
you're looking at old places for new God things, you're never going to find it there.
right.
The only thing you're going to find in old places is old things. Even if it's an old God thing, it's an old thing. And God
Mm-hmm.
doesn't even want you to have an old God thing. He
Yeah.
always wants you to have a new thing, which is
Yes.
why He's always giving you a
Yes.
new thing to be perceived. But you'll
Yes.
only find it if you perceive it
Yes.
in the unfamiliar place.
That's right. Kevin said, "Preach," and she is. She
But
is
it's up
preaching.
to you to perceive
Mhm.
it.
It
It's
is.
not whether or not God is doing it, because he said he's
Yes.
already done it.
Mm.
He's asking you,
Yes.
don't you perceive it?
Don't you perceive it?
You're not waiting
Woo.
for him to do a new thing. Some people wait for a new year for a new thing, but God said he's already done a new thing.
Yes.
Whenever you perceive it, is
Yes.
when you'll have it.
That's right. That's
We're
right.
never waiting on God. He's already done it.
Woo, don't let them wait on us no more. Don't let them wait on us.
It's just you perceiving it. Whenever you choose to perceive it, is when
That's
you'll
right.
have it.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
never when you perceive it will he do it.
Do it. It's
It's
already.
never when you perceive it will he do it. It's when you perceive it when you'll have it,
Woo!
because he's already done it.
Yes. Yes.
We're
Yes.
never waiting on him to do it.
Mm,
Everything
mm,
was done on the cross. He's already
yeah.
done it.
Mm.
It's only when you perceive it will you have it.
Yes, I love it. 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 Listen, listen. I'm gonna harp on, when you perceive it is when you'll have it, because the verse does say he makes ways in the wilderness, and so many people say there's no one good out here, and I ain't seeing it, and where are you finding them all? Listen, he will make it because he's already done it. Did y'all hear what she said? It's already done. You don't have the perception because maybe you're not in an environment where people are feeding that faith to you. Maybe you're letting those old experiences and heart um, feelings get in the way of your perception. But let's break it. Let's break it. That's why she's here tonight. That's why I'm here with the webinar that's coming up. I'm telling you, I know you're going to receive it because you're
Don't
going to
be
start
don't
receiving
be
it.
afraid of the wilderness. Don't
Don't.
be afraid of dry places, and don't be
Woo.
afraid of the wilderness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He took the people through the wilderness so that he
Mm-hmm.
can, if he had let them go the fast, quick way, they wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have gotten what they needed.
Yes.
Don't
Yes.
be afraid of the wilderness, and don't be afraid of dry places,
Right.
because that's where the new things are.
Yes. Yes. That's right. And that's where he's going to get his glory.
Yeah,
You'll remember this day, and
yeah,
you'll remember when you did perceive it and received it.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my
I
goodness.
know that just blessed me so good. You just
Right.
dropped that. I'm just so blessed by that myself.
Come
Thank you,
on,
Lord.
right? Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Those
And
who
he did.
refresh
And
will
he
be
did.
refreshed, right? So we are so excited about that. I am excited about you reaching out to Trudy with all of her business solutions for you. Okay, so go ahead, get the business started, get the funding. She said when the banks say no, they have a number of lenders that will say yes. So let's not let that be an excuse for those who are seeking love. Even if you have lied to yourself, like our other couple who met online, who said she was saying she didn't want anybody, but deep down she did. She did. She just went online. She trusted God, even with that little bit, right? And look what happens. We have our next online couple who's successful and who just celebrated a year of marriage last week. Women, yeah, last week on the 15th. Woo, they're coming up next week. I'm so excited. And I'm trying to build your faith. It doesn't matter where you meet them. You can meet them at your mailbox tomorrow, or you can meet them on some site. I don't care, because God doesn't care. He heals some people with spit, some in a dirty lake. It doesn't matter how it happens, as long as it's God doing it, right? So join me. I'm looking forward to helping you. I'm gonna be your wing woman. Let's go. I wish I knew more about Vegas earlier, because I sure would have got a flight. But I'm gonna keep up with you so that I can attend the things that you do have going on. You spit it, you gave it, all the things that there's no way anybody can say you did not do exactly what you came to do tonight. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, yes. I'm gonna allow you to go because I keep you all night, and that's not fair. Tell you thank you and what's up, and we
Absolutely.
will be talking soon, y'all. I have to ask, because this is the next. We're about to move into our next phase of Supermom. For those of you who have been voting, I can see you. I literally see who's voting. Thank you. Keep voting. It's a long process. I appreciate you. All right. Y'all have a great night. Go after that something new. Thank you.